Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 35th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today, we got to talk about the polarizing, insane, super talked about in the film community. Beau is Afraid, the new film by Ari Aster. Now, Ari Aster, I'm a fan. Hereditary is probably my favorite horror movie, honestly. And Midsummer, man, I thought Midsummer was awesome. I really think this guy has a great style. I like his vision. I like the risk he takes. He's a he's a great filmmaker. And A24 threw a whole bunch of money at this dude, $35 million. And I love that they did that because this movie's not going to make any money, and they still said we don't care, and they're showing him their appreciation for what he did for them. Hereditary was it was their highest grossing film until Everything Everywhere. So I mean, hey, A24 and Ari Aster, they go together like peas and carrots now. But everyone is very divisive on this film. Everyone is split like down the middle. I got people saying it's a masterpiece. I got people saying it's a disaster piece. I got people saying I didn't understand it. I got people saying it was too long. It was too everything. There wasn't enough of this. Everyone has an opinion on the film. Well, I'm here to tell you right now. This is not going to be a typical review for me. One, I'm not going to spoil this film, okay? So if you're listening, this will be a spoiler-free review, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And um the first thing is, well, let's just talk about what the movie's about. So, Beau is Afraid, starring Joaquin Phoenix, who is brilliant in this, by the way. Joaquin Phoenix is a guy who is afraid of his mom, and he's supposed to be going to visit her, and a series of events happens in this man's life throughout a day, and it's just kind of insane. And Beau really needs to do something, and something needs to happen by the end of this film. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil this film. If you watch other reviews about the movie, they probably already told you what it is that he needs to do. But he needs to do it, and he needs to do it ASAP. But we're not going to spoil the film. Let's just talk a little bit about it. First things first, okay? This isn't a horror film for all the Ari Aster fans who are expecting something a little more horror-y. This is not a horror film. It has elements of horror. There's some stuff in it where it's like, ooh, that could be in a horror movie. But this is by no means, sorry, is not a horror film. This is I looked at it as a black comedy thriller, okay? The first act of this film is brilliant in every way. It's funny as hell. It's original as hell. It's shot really cool. Joaquin Phoenix he is the man. I just loved the first hour of this film. I thought it was great. It was funny. I had no clue what was going on in this city that we don't even know the name of. Kind of reminded me of like Detroit. I don't know, just by the way everything was, but it's probably supposed to be based on New York. But the first act of this film is epic. I think it is very engaging. It will grab the watcher, and it will keep you there, and it will make you interested to see where this is going to go. I will say, I mean, I've never seen a film like this. This is a different type of film. Now, I've seen films who ride this same line. This movie actually made me think, and it's not that they're related or anything, just the style of it and how polarizing it was. It actually reminded me of Darren Aronofsky's Mother. And that was a polarizing film, and people were very divisive on that. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a masterpiece, actually. But it definitely gave me vibes from that movie. Not anything that's happening in it, just the style of it, the feel of it. Okay. So the first act is great. You got Beau, and he lays out, pretty much they lay out why he's afraid. He's clearly afraid of his mom. He's pretty much afraid of everything. And you have no idea whether what's going on is real or not. Is this in his head? Is this actually happening? Who knows? But this film takes a very sharp turn in the second act. And I think the first half of the second act was also brilliant and funny. And I think it has an underlying theme of a mental institution. Like the first act felt like a therapy session, the second act felt like my man's was in a mental institution. And if you watch the film and how it plays out, you will understand what I mean by that. Ari Aster was very unapologetic with this film. He did whatever he wanted and no one told him no. And I love that and I appreciate that. And I've seen a lot of people review this film and they were saying that someone need to pull the reins back on Ari Aster and tell him no. I fully disagree. I love that A24 gave him 100% freedom. I think when you have a filmmaker of this caliber, you have to let them run loose, okay? Because this film, trust me, over time, this film will be looked at differently than it is now. But we get one of the most beautiful, like, I think it was stop motion. It was like stop motion, kind of animated deal going on. You get like a 20-minute sequence in the middle of the second act. And it was beautiful and cool and interesting. And it can get a little confusing, but I do think if you strap your seatbelt on, you will be able to pick up on what's going on. This movie is full of symbolism. There's so many things that you really gotta watch for. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this movie is definitely one that's going to require multiple viewings. This is not a film you watch once and say, okay, I got it. No, I think this movie is probably going to have to be watched 3 times in order to really grasp what's going on here and maybe get everything that Ari Aster was pushing for. I do believe that Ari Aster had a very clear-cut goal in mind of what he wanted this movie to represent, because I do think he achieves that message at the end. And although the third act is it goes a little bit off the rails. It gets a little crazy. But I do think by its closing shot, I do think there was some brilliance in it and what was happening. Because I think there's a ton of theories that can be going on here. I think there's a ton of things that can be said. And what I think about this film, because I can't tell you what I think without giving the film away, but what I think about the film and how it ends and what it was supposed to represent may be 100% different from what you took away from it. And I think that's the beauty of this film. This film is a film that you have to have a conversation with afterwards. You don't just watch this film and say, all right, cool, what are we going to eat? No, you got to talk to somebody about this film. I think you should definitely go and check it out. I was in a theater all alone. No one was with me. It was great. And I kind of wish there was some people in there because I would have loved to seen some crowd reactions to certain things. So me being alone, I only have my own interpretations of things, and I laughed, but I felt really fine laughing hard as hell. I laughed so loud. There is some extremely funny moments in this movie. This is a funny film, and it's not funny in your normal way. It's funny because it's so ridiculous, and it's like, what am I watching? What am I hearing? This is a film that's gonna make you feel like you've never experienced something like this before. You're going to feel like this is your first time doing something when you watch this movie. I had an experience with this movie. It was a fun time. But let's talk about a couple of things in it. The acting. Joaquin Phoenix was brilliant in this film. And I believe he understood the assignment 100% because he understands that Beau is a character who isn't 100% there upstairs. He understands that Beau is a character that is super confused. Beau is a character that's suffering from trauma. Beau is a character that most people can't relate to. And I think Joaquin, he always brings this quirkiness and awkwardness to his roles that just give an edge to all his roles. Like, think about him in The Master. He had this weird, edgy quirkiness to him that I think really pulled that character alive. And I think the same thing is happening here in Beau is Afraid. Joaquin Phoenix is one of the best working actors we have. And there are some scenes in this movie that he is just electrifying. There's a scene where he's in a bathtub and it's in the first act. I don't want to tell you. There's a scene where he's in a bathtub and he sees something on the ceiling and then something happens and it is so freaking funny. But I feel like only someone as awkward as Joaquin Phoenix can make this work. You guys just gotta see it for yourselves. Also, we got to talk about Patty Lupone. This woman, first of all, she's 74 years old. She looks great. She looks great. I couldn't believe how old she was when I pulled up her age. She was brilliant in the third act of this film, bro. She ties this film up really nicely with her performance at the end. And I do think that lesser actors would have made this movie almost unwatchable. You need talent of this caliber to make a script like this work. This is a complicated script. This is a script that most people probably read and they probably didn't even understand what was going on themselves. But you need actors who can commit and really dive in to make this work. The acting in this between Joaquin Phoenix and Patty Lupone really tie this film together. And you get you got Parker Posey's in this movie, who I love. I've loved her since I was a child, Dazed and Confused. Parker Posey's awesome, and she's awesome in this movie. She's not in it a lot, but when she is, she's great. You get some really, really good characters in this film. Some interesting ones, some funny ones. There's a young female character in here, and she plays the daughter of a certain couple. She was awesome. She was funny as hell. I was dying. Everything about the acting works. Now, cinematography off the charts. This movie looks amazing. It's gorgeous, yo. Ari Aster probably made his best looking film. And I mean, I thought Hereditary and Midsommar looked great. This movie even looks better than those. The look of this film, it's a vibe, man. It is a vibe. The use of colors, the lighting, the cinematography, the way he worked the camera, everything is just so nice with the look of this film. I was very impressed with the look of this film. And like I said, that stop motion scene in the middle of the film is freaking great. I've never seen anything like it. But this movie here, though, it has some fat on it, okay? It's 3 hours long. In this movie, I feel that Ari Aster did slightly overdo a few things. I think he still could have got his point across and trimmed this movie down about 20 minutes, maybe even 25. Some scenes go on very long, some necessary, some not. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that, like I said, upon first viewing, I've only seen it once, and I feel really awful reviewing this movie only on one viewing, but certain things in this movie do feel out of place. Certain things feel like why is this here? What the hell is going on? But I think it's going to require multiple watches for us to grasp that. But off the first rip, I will say this movie was a little bit longer than it needed to be. I do think that the editing could have used just a little more tightening up, but it's a very well edited film. Ari Aster. Now, all the praise I was giving him before, I'm still singing his praises. But Ari, I gotta say, it feels like maybe this was a story he really wanted to tell, or maybe he felt like when your first two films are that successful, your first two studio features, when you got a film as successful as Hereditary and Midsommar, and they're both polarizing. I think as a filmmaker, it makes you feel like you need to outdo yourself. You need to continue to shock your audiences. And for, only your third feature, I understand why he went this route. And I understand why he put some of the stuff in here that he put in here. Because like I said, there's some stuff in here that I've never seen in a film before. And I respect that originality and I respect that creativity. But at the same time, some of it is a little like, what the hell? But I don't think that takes away from the overall artistic vision this man had. I will say, I do not believe this film is for everyone. This is a movie lover's film. This is a cinephile film. This is a film for people who like weird stuff. This is a film for people who just like to be blown away in certain ways. This is a movie lover's movie. I would not suggest this to someone who said, their favorite movie is Endgame. No, I would never suggest that to them. But I would suggest this to all Ari Aster fans. If you're an Ari Aster fan and you're a fan of his style, I do believe you will like this film. This isn't a perfect movie. I've seen some people throwing 10 out of 10s, and I gotta say, it's not a perfect film. I don't think it's his best film. I'm still going to say Hereditary is his best film. but I also do believe this requires more watches in order for me to properly assess this. So it's to be determined where this stacks up against his other two. But I mean, overall, Beau is Afraid is a fun movie. It's fun, it's weird, it's well acted, it's gorgeous to look at. It's a little polarizing. It goes off the rails a little bit. It definitely gets a little messy at parts, but I do think a movie lover would enjoy their experience and time with this film. This is a film that I believe any cinephile should watch. Go see it in a big screen if you can. It looks great. I was blown away by the look of this film. This film will not disappoint deep cinephiles. Now, having said all that, if you've watched my channel, I always give a score for films out of 10. This is the hardest film I've ever scored on this channel. I saw the movie like 5 days ago, and I still don't know what score I would give this film, but I gotta score it for you guys. So as it stands, and this is subject to change, as it stands, I'm going to give Beau is Afraid an 8 out of 10. Guys, if you have seen Beau is Afraid, make sure you drop in the comments and tell me what you think. Tell me what I got right, wrong. Tell me your interpretation of the film. Try not to spoil it in the comments for those who haven't seen it, but I would love to know your opinions on the film, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.